Good morning, everyone, or not good morning, good afternoon. Wow, I must have slept late today. Welcome to the Rundown. I am your host today, Craig DeLuz, coming at you from the left coast. But as we all know, I do not do this program by myself.
No, you do not, Craig. You have assistance from the East Coast, from the coast with the most. My name is Mike Poworski, and I'll be here to help you today.
Now, today is Manic Monday. Why do we call it Manic Monday?
Because I wish it was Sunday. That's my I don't have to run day.
Right. It's really a fun day.
It is my fun day. Oh boy, how was your weekend, Craig?
You know what? It was phenomenal. I did other than mowing the lawn, as I said I was going to do. I did very few constructive things. Spent some good times with friends. Just kind of hanging out, relaxing. Watched a little football. Chilled out a little bit. Nothing. Once again, nothing constructive except mowing the lawn.
And that was phenomenal. That's you put that on the standard of phenomenal weekends.
Oh yeah. No, where you really don't have to do it. Anyway, it is. Yes, it was the bomb. It was just nice because normally every weekend I've got something, whether it's a family thing or work thing or church thing. I've always got something on a weekend.
Gotcha.
So when I have nothing, that's something.
Well, that's good. That's very good. I did the air show Friday. We did Thunderbirds and the 522 Raptor demo and the F-18 team, and so we had a great time geeking out at the air show. And that was so good on Saturday that Sunday I went flying by myself, grabbed the airplane and went. So
that's nice.
Yeah,
that sounds like fun.
Yep. Helped my another buddy work on his helicopter on Sunday, and then went flying. So we had a good time. It was a good aviation-filled weekend.
Right. One other thing that I did do, I did add another bourbon to my collection. And quite honestly, I have no idea what it tastes like. I literally just bought it because the bottle said American bourbon. America's bourbon.
The name of the bourbon is America. I actually met those guys about 4 or 5 years ago at SHOT Show. They came down Radio Row and introduced themselves, and we met them, and those are real good guys, and they're definitely these were one of the people that were pumping the pride in our country before the flood of everybody else got hit with, this is a veteran owned and veteran that, and not that there's anything wrong with veteran owned and operated, but these guys were all about America and bourbon before I think anybody else was. So these guys will always give them credit for that, is what I'm saying.
Okay. How was their bourbon?
From 4 to 5 years ago, what I remember on Radio Row, it was delicious.
Well, I will one day soon find out. But yeah, so I was very happy to add that to my collection. Now, I'm still nowhere near where you are. But I'm
That's all right.
I'm doing all right. I'm getting there.
It's a lot of it's a lot of time, a lot of dedication, and a lot of gifts as well. So
there you go. Well, I'm at a point now where I'm like, I have to start adding shelves again.
Oh yeah, so am I. Yeah. The room's about to get smaller again. Yeah.
Very nice. Well, why don't we go ahead and let's go ahead and get into today's news. I'm sure by now you all have heard that General Colin Powell, or Secretary Colin Powell, has passed away. Those of you who remember Colin Powell, he was the Chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff. He was Secretary of State for the United States. He was probably most famously known for the presentation he did at the United Nations, where he made the case for going to war in Iraq. Well, he has passed away. And now evidently it was from complications, according to his family, from complications of COVID. The interesting thing about it one of the interesting things about it is, other than just the historical, who he was the fact that he was actually fully vaccinated.
Yeah. Craig, and I don't want to judge too much on the vaccination, because that's going to come down to the family's politics, whoever wrote the release, as opposed to what actually was the truth there. What the truth is that we know is that General Powell was an incredible man, an incredible leader, for the military, incredible leader for the nation. In a time when Black Americans were still struggling everywhere, including in the military. In 1958, he commissions from City College in New York. Into the Army as second lieutenant as a young officer, and sticks around until 1993. Like we said, as the 4-star. His last job as chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff. 35 years in uniform. Bringing together a branch of the service, and then all the branches, and then becoming the leader that still disillusioned or downtrodden youth that are Black Americans that are looking for a role model, and he's there. He's there at the time when it's all Craig. It's we're looking at dream teams and millionaires and that kind of stuff were the role models at the time. And here's a man that was a man of service his entire life, a Vietnam veteran, wounded Vietnam veteran that helped become a role model for a generation of young soldiers. That's what he's to be remembered for, not how his family thinks about COVID.
Right. Well, and the interesting thing was, so I had read his biography years ago. I mean, decades ago.
Yeah.
And the interesting thing about him was, when it came to him in terms of his mind as a military leader in general, he had a very, very solid understanding of war and tactics and geopolitical issues. As a Republican, what was always interesting was quite honestly, he could have been president of the United States if he wanted. The year that George W. Bush ran, he was the most popular figure in the nation when it came to names that were put out there, people who would run for president. If he wanted to be president, he could have been president. In hindsight, I'm glad he did not run, and I only say that because, as I think is the case with many military generals, not all of them necessarily make good politicians, and I think later in life we realized that, and it's not because he wasn't an ethical man, because he was. It wasn't because he wasn't a smart man. It was because he was never really one to play politics or understand how politics are played. He's very much look, this is what we're supposed to be doing. These are the orders you're supposed to follow type of a person. And I really think being president would have been a challenge for him, and it would have really gotten, unless he surrounded himself with some really good people who understood politics. I think his legacy is solid as it is, and didn't need to add that to his resume. Put it that way.
Yeah, you're right. Listen, when you come from a world of duty, honor, country,
right,
and then have to enter into politics, it doesn't work so well. They will slam you and destroy you. Look, right. The same way if you come from a world of business and you come from a world of profits and everything, and getting things done. Look what they do to you then.
Yeah.
Craig, I will say this because you did speak of his legacy. The author of this article, what's his name? Robert Burns, can go eat a bag of Richards.
Yes.
The first thing that the author goes into saying is his legacy marred in 2003 by the lies about trying to get into Iraq. Well, clearly, Robert Burns, you're a liberal piece of crap. And you're making this story about you and not the great general. I'll tell you this, Robert Burns, U.S. troops found nearly 5,000 abandoned chemical weapons from 2004 to 2011, 2,400 actual rocket missile systems with nerve agents in them in Iraq. And I can tell you firsthand right now, I could probably dig the pictures out and show you myself in 2005 and 2006, me sitting on those Scud missiles, active Scud missiles that have been stashed around the Middle East. And I found a bunch of them in Afghanistan that were put off there. So there were no WMDs is still a lie that the left is telling to try and hurt the right.
It's funny you say that, because one of the things that's actually been noted was, originally, military leaders wanted to just go in. They didn't want to go to the UN and get permission to go in because they knew exactly what would happen. It took several months. I think it was like 9 months before dealing with the UN before we finally would go in, which basically gave them 9 months to move and to hide any of those weapons. So maybe we didn't find any when we initially went in, but that was because we made it so that they could hide them. We gave them time to be able to do that. And that's because, you know what? They wanted to do the honorable thing. They wanted to follow protocol. And if we hadn't followed protocol, we probably would have found them.
And we did find them. And we did find them, and we found them. And we found them over and over and over, tens of thousands, by the way, is the total number of WMDs we found. And I'm not talking hand grenades. I'm talking things like nerve agent rockets. I'm talking things like that. Bombs that let go of nuclear, biological, and chemical warfare. Those type of things.
Now, did you find them in Iraq, or you were noting in Afghanistan?
No, the numbers that I gave you, the 2,400 and the 5,000, those were found in Iraq.
Oh, wow.
The ones we found, the ones I found were found in Afghanistan, which were traced back to, like you just said, Craig, during that 9 months, the group of the cluster of Scud missiles and launchers that we found made the trek away from Iraq and into Afghanistan, neighboring Afghanistan, by the way, might I add,
Well, here's the other thing, though, and this is the kind of thing I'll call, as at the time a young black Republican, what was really him and Condoleezza Rice were the first black Republicans that the left could not demonize, and or at least let me put it this way, were unsuccessful in making fun of, in demonizing, because they were just, had such integrity and had such knowledge and wisdom when it came to what they did. Anyway, I look back now and I realize, you don't have many of those figures in administrations anymore. I wish we had more of them. Once again, people who aren't as interested in playing politics and are more interested in just getting the job done. All right, so moving right along to our next story. Now, there's an NBA player. He plays for the Atlanta Hawks. His name is Brandon Goodwin. Brandon Goodwin is his name. Yeah, let's go, Brandon. So first of all, you guys are I'm pretty sure you're familiar, or at least if you've been following the news, there's an NBA player, a big name NBA player, at least two of them. One was Anthony Wiggins, who decided, I think he decided to finally get the vaccine. You have Kyrie Irving, which is the biggest name in the NBA, who's like, yeah, I don't know. I don't know if I want to get the vaccine, because it's just, he's like, I got to look out for me and my health. And one of the reasons why is this guy, Brandon Goodwin, who played for the Atlanta Hawks last year, got the vaccine. And then in the middle of a game, actually, just completely and utterly lost breath. He got to the point where he literally could not breathe. They wound up taking him out of the game. He wound up going to the hospital and going through all of these tests. And they turned out he had a respiratory issue. And they believe it was linked, or at least he believes it was linked to the vaccine. And the NBA basically told him, yeah, no, you're done for the season. So he basically says that the vaccine ended his season. Now, Mike, this is a guy who, now once again, he's young, right? This guy is in his 20s. He's in top physical condition. This is someone who, if he had gotten COVID, was a 99.992 likelihood of getting through it with no issues and no complications, who had his season ended last year potentially because of the vaccine. And what's interesting about it is, you don't hear this story in many of the mainstream media outlets.
Well, no, because this is not the narrative, right? And this guy, Brandon, by the way, let's go, Brandon. Hope your health is doing actually really good as well, Brandon. So, Craig, this was not just a respiratory issue. They found blood clots, in the thoracic cavity as well. So, this really hit him. He had a very adverse reaction from the vaccine. Now, again, Craig, let's be clear on this. You give me some kind of disease out there that's going to wipe through, some kind of Ebola or something like that that's going to come through, and you got a vaccine, and the vaccine is going to affect a 1/10 of 1%. But I'm sorry, no reason to be putting these experimental vaccines in you if you don't want them. And by the way, you could be cured with some vitamin C or some ivermectin. Again, it comes back to the choice, Craig. And the NBA players were not given the choice.
Right.
They were told, take the vaccine or do not play.
Well, exactly. And that's the point is that their desire and their goal to vaccinate everybody is impacting some people who are at greater risk if they take the vaccine than if they actually were to get COVID. And we already know that, once again, if you get COVID, you have better immunity than someone who actually has gotten the vaccine.
Right.
There are studies out there that prove this. Unfortunately, we'll probably wind up getting one of those Facebook censors for saying that, but it's the truth. It is the 100% truth. Google doesn't want you to know it. YouTube doesn't want you to know it. Pfizer doesn't want you to know it. Moderna doesn't want you to know it, because they want you to take, or Johnson & Johnson, they want you to take their vaccine. I'm like this. I believe you should have a choice. For people who are higher risk, I don't want to say I encourage you to get the vaccine. I encourage you to seriously look into it. If you are morbidly obese, if you are older, if you have comorbidities, other comorbidities. By the way, the number one comorbidity is, obesity, and old age, age,
older,
right? But then you should give it a serious look. I'm not saying you should get it or you shouldn't get it. I'm saying talk to your physician, talk to people who you trust when it comes to your health and your health care, and make a decision for yourself. But when the government or when employers start mandating it, and what's even worse is you've got companies, basically you got the government encouraging employers to force their employees to get this vaccine, because the government knows they're going to have a hard time mandating it. They know that constitutionally they're going to be on shaky ground. Yep. But they know that they can require employers, or they know that they can encourage employers to do it. And by the way, that once again is kind of leaning towards the kind of definition of what we call fascism.
Yeah, it's right there, highlighted underneath the definition, exactly what it is. That's fascism. So, again, Craig, like you said, to reiterate, folks, do your research, talk to your doctor, talk to more than one doctor, and make your own decision. I'm sorry, the mandatory nonsense that the NBA is doing right now. Listen, how do you think that's going to affect the mandatory shots that they're doing out there now in Southwest Airlines, right? We've seen again all week, 4,000 flights canceled due to weather, air quotes, weather, right? And they're still refusing. I talked to some pilots this weekend, and they were all like, I think we're going to be sick again. So
now I heard that, or at least let me clarify. I saw somewhere on Facebook, so I have not verified it yet, that they were no longer going to be requiring it.
Well, that is the Facebook. I know I did hear that from SkyWest, which is a regional outfit that staffs a couple different airlines. I had not heard that from Southwest. So if that's the truth, that's a good victory.
You're right. I don't see anything in the news. In fact, what they're trying to do is that the Southwest actually went to the court to try, because I guess they wanted to make it so that the head of the union couldn't discourage his members from not getting the vaccine. And I'm like, well, first of all, he has a right to freedom of speech. I got to think he has the ability to be able to say what it is that he believes. And if you're now going to mandate that he can't even discourage his members from doing it, I'm like, how exactly does that hold any water in court?
Right.
I'm like, there's this thing called the Constitution, and that Constitution is this thing called the First Amendment. How exactly does that work?
Yeah, well, evidently they don't know, do they?
Anyway, it just batty to me. Here's another thing that's batty to me, Mike. In Chicago, well, as many jurisdictions are trying to do, or actually it's more Cook County than Chicago, they're moving to actually ban ghost guns. Now, we all know ghost guns are firearms, or they're home-built firearms, but specifically firearms without serial numbers is what they've tried to expand the definition to. Except this would only ban ghost guns that don't have serial numbers. So are these like zombie guns? Are these like resurrected guns? What do I mean?
Oh, it is Halloween. We are coming up on Halloween. These could be, these boom. Gun just scared me. It came up behind me and made a noise. Craig, the funny part, looking at the title picture from this story is a lieutenant from the Cook County Sheriff's Office there, Sheriff's Department, and they're showing, 8-10 handguns on this table. And as you look at the guns, the thing that I can clearly see on the bottom of each firearm is the serial number plate So he's telling me this big, long speech about all these firearms that have no serial numbers that we have to get rid of, yet they don't seem to have any firearms with no serial numbers to show us. They're showing us regular guns where the serial numbers go, and they would say, well, if this was a ghost gun, this serial number right here wouldn't be here. So they don't even have ghost guns to show you during their epidemic of ghost guns.
Which is interesting, because you would think during an epidemic they would be able to at least show you a ghost gun.
Yeah, they would have to be pushing them aside to get in. They'd be like,
right.
excuse us. We're going to make some room in these chairs here. We get all these ghost guns, It just...
Well, what they're in essence trying to do is what we have here in California, where you can do a home build, except you have to before you can manufacture it, you have to call DOJ, you have to apply for a serial number, you have to get go through the background check, all that. Then they'll send you your serial number, and you have to make sure that it's put onto the firearm. So that's what you have to do in the state of California if you want to do a home build.
I'm waiting to be caught in one of those jurisdictions, and it will not happen in Florida. I mean, I should never say never, I guess, but to be caught in one of those jurisdictions where they say you can't have a ghost gun, but you must, if you do, you have to register it. So the Cook County one is saying that you have a ghost gun, you have to put a serial number on it, you got 6 months to register it, they're going to put a little grandfather clause in there, or if you do build one, you have to put a serial number on there. Craig, I would gladly register my ghost gun, and it would be something along the lines of "Let's go, Brandon," it's the F Cook County or something like that, because there's no requirement for what it has to be.
No.
In fact, we tell people all the time, if you're going to make yourself a firearm with no serial number, which is your legal right to do under the Constitution. It wasn't until 1968 that they came up with that we had to have a serial number on every firearm, and that was for mass manufacturing and sales through dealers and distributors. Okay, and you could still at this point at home make yourself one. Check your local laws, folks, on ghost guns now, on unserialized firearms, but you're allowed to do that. And I tell people all the time, if you're going to do it, put a number on there. Put your social, put the last 4 of your social, put the last 4 of your couple of your driver's license, put something in there somewhere. That way, if it ever does get stolen, if you're the victim of a crime, you could say, oh, that's mine, because if you do this and look here, there's a series of numbers that I put in there.
Right. Exactly. But yeah, anyway. So suffice it to say that once again, you have people who really don't know what they're talking about when it comes to firearms, trying to implement firearm policy. My interesting thing is like as soon as you define what a ghost gun and what an 80% lower is, then they're gonna change what they do, and they'll do something. They'll make it so they'll make a 79% lower.
Tomorrow.
That's what these idiots just don't seem to get.
Yeah. Every time, Craig, there's been an assault weapon ban, every time there's been a magazine capacity ban, it's taken the industry about 8 or 9 days to find the workaround.
Well, because considering the fact that there are several hundreds of thousands, if not millions, of guys sitting around a workbench with a case of beer and some bourbon and time on their hands.
Some American ingenuity is what they got going on there.
Exactly. They're just going to make another handful of people rich because they're going to come up with an idea, a way to comply with the law. Now they want to call it a loophole. They're going to find a way to comply with the law.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah. Every time. Listen, a quick example, folks. Yeah. The bullet button. Craig, you were out there. You had the bullet button on firearms, right?
Yep.
Because the bullet button says I can't push the button with my big old hands.
Right.
I have to use like the tip of a bullet to go in the magazine.
You have to use a tool. Yep.
So what did they do? They made magazines with a tiny little plastic bullet tip on the end of it. So that way, every time you pulled another magazine, you just hit the bullet button and it dropped. And
what was interesting about it was because they said, well, you can't count a bullet as a tool. But I'm like, no. They were like, no, you can. And they used the example, I think it was the Kalashnikov. It was a Russian-made firearm that literally was made to take apart with the bullet.
With the bullet. Yeah, exactly. Yep.
So it wasn't just releasing a magazine. It was taking you could take the whole firearm apart with a bullet.
Well, the same thing with the M16 that you're taught in the military, that the bullet is a tool. It's how you adjust your sights. It's how you do a couple other different things. You use the bullets available. Yep.
There you go. Okay. Now, California, I know. It can't be good if it's guns coming out of California, unless it's a court decision, because every once in a while we do get a good court decision. But in California, our new Attorney General, Rob Bonta, is actually put together a grant program in order to help basically local law enforcement seize guns. Now in California, there's a bunch of different reasons why they're trying to seize firearms. They're not just going after ghost guns or home builds. They're also going after assault weapons. Now, mind you, this is an entity that actually once there was an assault weapons ban, they created a computer system to register them, which was an epic failure, and many people didn't get an opportunity to register them. So now they're going out, or they didn't complete the registration process in some cases. Now they're going out and they're basically, now that people have sent them pictures of these firearms that are not actually now registered, they're going in there basically going to go seize them. Or there are some people who actually did do that, did send in pictures, and they saw something kind of questionable. I'll use my air quotes, questionable on the photos that they sent. And usually that has to do with a muzzle device. And they've said, well, that looks like an assault weapon. And they're using that as a reason to go and inspect people's firearms. And in some cases, they're finding stuff in their gun safe that, well, is not exactly kosher. But basically, they're using it as a reason to go into people's homes and seize their firearms. And now there's a $5 million grant program for local law enforcement to encourage them to seize people's guns. Oh, I almost forgot. Totally forgot about gun violence restraining orders, or as the rest of the country knows, known as red flag laws.
Craig, you listed all incredibly valid points and agree with you on everything, as usual. But my question is, where did California get this $5 million? Do they go down to the beach and is it to come up on shore, or they go up in the higher mountains of California and this grows on trees, or is this something you dig up in the desert, in the California desert plains there? Maybe it's under the mudslides. When the mudslides leave, there's $5 million there. Is that where do they get this $5 million? You guys can't afford to feed the people there. You can't afford to have proper health care. You're trying to give everything else away. Yet now they have another $5 million. We just saw that again. Police have been defunded again, and they want that money back. Where'd they get this extra $5 million?
They printed it, I guess. I don't know. Basically,
California money. There you
right.
go.
Well, basically,
So
we took it. We probably got it from the feds. So it probably came from you, Mike.
So some of it came from me. All right, there you go. All right, gotcha. Huh? Well, if it came from the feds, I just got one thing for you. Let's go, Brandon.
Let's go, Brandon.
Let's go, Brandon.
But it's. I mean, folks. Here's the thing. Don't ever let anyone fool you when they say they're not coming for our guns. That's not true. They are. They are clearly coming for our guns.
Yep.
They're just doing it one firearm part, one firearm, one class of firearms at a time. They just want to get you comfortable with the idea of gun confiscation. Then, once they get you idea with confiscating some people's guns or confiscating some guns, then they'll be comfortable enough with coming after the rest of them.
We've heard the Clintons say it for years. Holder said it. Obama said it. We're going to come for your guns. It's going to take time. We're going to brainwash you. We're going to brainwash a generation. And so it's going to be one bite at a time. Hillary said it. How do you eat the elephant? One bite at a time. That's how we'll get their guns from them.
Exactly. That's her attitude, and that's their attitude, and that's exactly the direction they want to go. And then, then we wind up like some other countries we know where liberty is not a thing. No. Sadly.
No.
Okay, moving right along. Our parting shot today is a funny one. Now, Mike, this is a video that you sent to me last week. It is hilarious.
Hilarious.
I just don't understand how people can see this president and listen to this president on a regular basis and not just accept the fact, or not be honest about the fact that dude has lost it. He has. He is completely and utterly, well, here's the example.
Hey, babe. I can't seem to find any accurate COVID numbers right now. Do you know?
I think 6,344,700 infected, and if I'm not mistaken, 1,189,506 dead.
What?
6,344,700. U.S. COVID deaths, 1,189,506.
That doesn't sound right.
120 million dead from COVID.
Unnecessarily, now we have over 120 million dead from COVID.
No, it's 200 million.
It's estimated
200 million people have died, probably by the time I finish this talk.
Are you just incoherently making up numbers?
My butt's been wiped.
My butt's been wiped. Come on, man.
My butt's been wiped.
Come on, man.
Folks, just so you know, now, I remember, George W. Bush, he had more than his fair share of odd things that he said.
Yes.
But his was over 8 years. Over 8 years. It hasn't been 8 months that it's taken to put together the number of stupid and crazy and just like old manish, senile type things that Joe Biden has said. You have to admit he's losing it.
Listen, I don't know how you put written, right? It's in writing. We see this. They put a written number into his hands, and he still sounds like a 3-year-old making up numbers. 1 billion D, 28, 7,000, 400 billions, 11 billion.
Right.
That's it.
And it's funny.
He said 1,373,608.
Well, what's funny about it, Mike, is like when you first hear it, you're like, wait, what? It sounds like you really, and then you're like, huh? And then he goes into it again. It's like, you're like, wait, rewind. What did he just say?
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah. He's
folks,
whacked.
Look, look, folks, those of you on the left, if you're watching this show, let me just say to you, get your boy. Get your boy.
Yeah. Get your boy a calculator.
Get him a calculator. Get him some whatever shot y'all gave him during the debates. You need to give him that shot day, multiple times a day, because clearly he's not functioning well. And this is what we, by the way, this is what we on the right knew we were going to get as a president, because we kind of knew that, we saw where he was headed. We knew there was a reason why he was hiding in the bunker, why he didn't want to be out campaigning. And now we're the world is seeing it, and it's embarrassing.
Exactly what it is.
All right, Mikey, we're about that time now. It's time to do shout out for our sponsors.
Did you say shots or shout out?
Shout out.
Oh, I thought you said shots. Okay. Shout out to our sponsors, to Grid Defense Gorilla Machining. Grid Defense Gorilla Machining, awesome peoples. Thank you for visiting their sites. Visit them. Their links are right there in the description below.
Exactly, folks. And hey, for those of you in the state of California, California Republican Assembly is the largest and most active and the oldest, by the way, one of the oldest grassroots conservative organizations in the state of California. We're working to elect like-minded conservatives, so we're working to kind of make California great again, but we can only do it with your help. If you're not part of the solution, you're part of the problem. Don't be a part of the problem. Join the California Republican Assembly today, the Republican wing of the Republican Party. And on that note,
do it now. Do it
now. Okay, on that note, we're going to go ahead and, it's time to go. We will be seeing you mañana for Taco Tuesday. So look forward. Send us some of your favorite taco recipes, your favorite, maybe post in the description here some of your favorite tacos that you like to have, and maybe we'll give them a try.
Love me some tacos.